I'm worried. You're worried. We're worried. Let's worry. Hi, I'm Casey Grambo,
And I'm Kevin McDermott.
and we're performers at the CT Comedy Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. While our physical theater is shut down due to the pandemic, we're excited to bring our show, Little Worry, Big Worry, to you in this digital space. On each episode of Little Worry, Big Worry, we're joined by a very funny guest to talk about what we're worried about. The little silly things and some bigger personal fears. We're going to talk things over, break it all down, and hopefully by the end, we're going to feel a little less worried. um, yeah, so I'm excited, Kevin. Thank you for asking me to do this podcast.
Casey, it is amazing to be with you here. We've been talking about this for a while, and I'm just glad that we're finally here doing it.
It's happening.
It's amazing. I couldn't think of anyone better to talk over my little worries, silly, fun stuff, and my bigger worries. A little bit more substantive than with you. We've known each other for a long time, and
Yeah.
I'm fired up to get going.
I'm really fired up too, and I'm worried all the time. So this feels like it's my sweet spot. So thank you.
This was one of the things that really bonded us because for a long time I was too stupid to be worried about much. Just was like dumb and oblivious, which I think people who listen to this will learn a little bit more about how dumb and oblivious I am
or
in
they'll
a lot of
know it,
situations.
or they'll have known it for a long time and they'll feel justified.
That's right. It'll just be my friends saying like, Kevin, we've known this for ages. This is what you've always been. But I do, Casey and I have performed together a lot. We love each other's sensibility and are really excited to have this show where we hope to connect with our guests, with each other about some things that we're thinking about. And, as the show suggests, some things that we're worried about.
Yeah. This is so exciting.
I can't believe our first guest, amazing, one of our favorite
amazing.
people. Joining us today is Los Angeles-based improviser, stand-up comic, and the host of the Pinky Promise podcast. Please welcome our guest, Laura Manasewich.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Laura.
Hello,
It's awesome to see you.
Fun.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to
Laura,
see you
this
again.
show is about worries. And I'm going to be be straight up right off the bat. I've known you for 10 years. I've loved you for 10 years. I still worry about mispronouncing your last name. I know how to say it.
Thank you so much.
I have known you. We've performed together 100 times, been on multiple teams
Minimum.
together. I know how to say your last name, but it is a tough one. The final sound the final syllable sound, I transpose to the middle often. So did I get it right in the intro?
You did.
All right.
Crushed it.
I want to get into the good stuff, and I will probably end up trying to talk to you after this anyway. But Laura,
Sure.
I'm curious about what is a little something that you're worried about.
A little something that I'm worried about, because like you, I too am always worried. So a little something that I'm worried about is fun competitions, even ones that aren't against anybody. Like if it's the Goodreads challenge or getting your steps in, anything that's hooray, that you could make a flyer about it with clip art. There is no fun. I have to do it the best that it's ever been done, or throw it in the trash. I'm not doing it. I take it too seriously, is what I'm saying.
Is this new, Laura, or have you always been unable to kind of separate the serious and competitive from the more casual pursuit?
I think what it is I don't ever think that I'm competitive until there is the scent of competition in the air, and then I'm like jugular.
Ew.
So
So you get
I think that's not
intoxicated.
fun, though.
You get intoxicated by the competitiveness and just charge through a wall. You're like the Kool-Aid man. Just
It's if you don't read 16 books this year. Why do you even know how to read? Like it's less like some of it is less about like crushing the competition and like not letting everybody down. Like the world is counting on me to get 10,000 steps or to do 30 days of squats, and like if I'm going to let them down, why am I here?
What is the Goodreads? I'm sorry to I just
Oh,
need a little
sorry. So
background on the Goodreads.
Goodreads is like Facebook for reading. So you just
Mm.
keep track of what you're reading, and you have friends on there, and you can like review books, and people can be like, "Oh, you're reading that book. How is it?" But they have a challenge every year that's like, "Hey, set your intention for like how many books you're going to read this year," and it's no one cares, but I do deeply.
I was just gonna say, I feel like competition is something that people become addicted can catch, like a disease, can become addicted to, and then have to recover from. Like truly, like it. It is. I feel like I'm a recovered competitive person. Like with like just like people who are like too. Like Laura, it sounds like you are one, but I feel like there's like some dangerously competitive people to their like own well being. that
Yeah.
the
Like in my heart, I want to be like, it doesn't matter. And then, on the reading fields, I find
Do you enjoy the books you're reading, or are you just reading them out of spite?
so like
There's the
January
question.
through like October, I enjoy the books I'm reading. And then like around October, I have to see where I am on the challenge list. And then like, it's go time. And it's like, oh, give me a short story, give me a children's book.
Comic
I
strip.
just gotta get it. I'm like, can I like enter like the Febreze bottle as Goodreads? Like I read
What
in it.
is in vanilla orange Febreze? Let's check it out.
I found the ingredient list
As like,
compelling.
oh
It
no.
The title, it gripped me right away. I was
Yeah.
absorbed in the Glade bottle. I felt like I was transported right away. I just love the interactive
Tired.
book
I've read this
club.
one before. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh.
Penthanol 9 really was a compelling character. I didn't know where the storyline was going, and then it resolved so beautifully.
And water.
Mm. You couldn't have
Because
had
water.
you couldn't have had that story without water.
It's true. It's true.
So, Laura, you enjoy the books when there's no finish line in
I'm
sight,
counting those.
and
Maddie.
then and then as the finish line gets closer,
Y-
your approach changes.
Yes. And I
Mm.
actually just got I just took out like my first ebook from the library. I
Oh yeah.
resurrected Ye Old Kindle Fire,
Rose from the
and I
Kindle
was telling a
ashes.
friend that like the book I have uh I was like, oh, it's like due in 3 days. And that sort of like inspired this worry, was because I was like, I'm like 90% through with it. There's no reason I shouldn't finish this book before Saturday. But now that there's like a fire under my butt, I'm like, ugh! And then I was telling my friend, and she was like, do you know a workaround for that? Turn your Wi-Fi off, and the library can't take the book back. And I died. Like, that is the funniest life hack I've ever heard.
What an act
It's
of resistance.
I love it. It's a workaround to have longer to read the book and to
Yeah.
screw over a public library.
I think
Screw
like they
you,
still get their
librarian.
I think they like get their serial number, or like whatever their license or that they need to like give the book to somebody else back. But oh my god, look at my wild face.
You look like
I'm
you look like the predator from
Thank you so much. But I think like you still get to finish the book. But like she was saying, if you have a hold on another book, you can't like you have to let it go, because if you put your Wi-Fi on to like deal with it,
They're like, give me that book.
yeah, your book goes away.
Whoa.
Did you guys ever have when you were younger, the reading challenges where you could earn personal pan pizzas from Pizza
Hell
Hut?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did that have a name or like a
Book
title
it.
to it? Book it?
Mm-hmm.
Book it.
I think book it to Pizza Hut.
That's the best name they could book it?
Now I'm invisible. Now I'm Alex Mack. This is fun.
I'm so sorry.
This
I
is
do remember
entirely my problem.
I do remember that challenge of like there was a display board and like you would just chart your progress towards your personal pan pizza where you would improve your mind and then go eat crap food. You would win crap food for expanding your mind.
And
But I
annoy your
remember
parents by being
I
like,
remember
we
your
have to
approach.
go to Pizza Hut. I won.
We got to go there. And I won the cheapest menu item, so you have to spend a lot of money on the other items for the rest of the family.
That's right.
But I remember your approach of like, yeah, what's the shortest book that will get me credit and teacher will give me a little pizza to fill in the block to indicate that I read the book. I can't remember, and Casey, I'm curious to hear your like how it's changed over time.
Mhm.
I feel like I have a much healthier relationship with my need to win and my need to compete and to do well. But I can't remember a time when I didn't have that like drive to need to win. Since I was a little kid, and now again, I still feel it. I just manage it a little bit better.
Yes. That's why I mean it's like this disease, man. Like I've been doing sports since I can remember, since I took my first basketball team photo in my jeans, like jeans and like when you're 5 or whatever. Um but the one thing that I feel like is there's like a distinction is there's like uh I've lost the insane need to argue with people about what's right about a competitive situation. I used to be extreme, like it was like competitive and expressive about it. And then now though I'm realizing the only thing that's like left over from my competitive nature is the kind of not liking doing something wrong because it feels like a losing, like not being wrong but doing something wrong, aka like you know making an error, or you know in a sports game, not just making an error the normal human sentence.
No, I deeply agree with you on that. And I think I do think that that's more what it is. Like, it's like it's competing against yourself to do right and
Yeah,
and do well
yeah.
more so than it's like people I'm beating and whatever. It's just like carnage along the way. But if I lose, I'm more mad at me than anybody else.
Yeah, there's no sportsmanship with my relationship with myself.
Right.
We don't shake hands at the end of the game. There's a lot of spitting and mixed bad words in the parking lot.
So you just have a bitter rivalry with yourself, just like Yankees, Red Sox, Casey versus Casey.
I feel like Laura gets it. She's like nodding. Like, yeah, there's, I don't know. It's worse some days, but
Yeah. I mean, I have been and still my professional career involves like competition and measuring yourself externally of just
right.
like I have another mark, whether it's a competitor or some performance metric that like I will measure myself against. But yeah, I think the it has gotten better to figure out how to have those like internal measures of like all that I really hopefully need to do is be good with my own performance and like how I measure that relative instead of relative to another person. But I still have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, Laura, this is a good worry.
It's a very good worry. And you're smart. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And if you read a Febreze bottle and you feel stimulated by that, just your group will support you. The great is it great books? No, read
Good
books.
reads.
Good reads.
Febreze, book it.
My worry actually is related to competition, and it is related to a game. I think every single person hopefully will know Uno, the classic card game that my 8-year-old daughter and I have been playing obsessively. We will play between like 8 to 15 hands a night. Um, and I've been like struggling with how to say this, but like Lily's really good at Uno, or is like as good as you can be at Uno because it's a
There's some
game of like,
strategy.
yeah, there's some strategy, but it's mostly the cards that you're dealt. But she knows how to play, and she is like good at playing. Tonight, she dropped 3+4s on me in one game and just destroyed me. Um, I worry that I'm not dealing as well as I should be as a dad at getting my ass kicked at Uno by my 8-year-old.
Could
Yeah.
we could we could we pretend in this moment really quick? Like imagine Laura is Lily and she's dropping that fourth +4. Can you give us
Yeah.
a image of your face when that happened?
I mean, I play like I am very serious when I play. I'm just like,
Okay.
let's play. First of all, Laura, my daughter, she doesn't even hold the cards right. She has like so they're all like jumbled and banged all over the joint. So it's not a fan. There's no orderliness to her cards. She just has them, and she still whoops my ass.
And that's part of her intimidation strategy. You're not focusing on your cards because you're pissed off at how she's holding hers.
Just fan them out. But she's a little girl, and like you can't hold all the cards right.
Can't tell me what to do, Dad.
So if you were about to play a +4 and you were my daughter, you would say, "Oh, do I have that card? Oh no, I can't play. Oh wait, I can." And we'll just talk shit as she drops a +4 on me.
And then
Yeah.
you then react how?
I'm not like I'm not really angry, but I'm like, God damn it, seriously, another +4, and she's talking smack at the same time, as she drops that on me. We have another rule where she loves smack talking. Whoever is the loser of the previous game goes first in the next game, and so she'll say, "Now, who was the loser of that last game?" "Oh, that was you, Daddy."
Oh
Like her
my,
stock
sassy.
line, as
I'm
though
sorry.
totally sassy, like a ton of attitude. Um, and it's like part of it is that it is just a game of chance, like if this particular game, she had 3+4s, like, come on, let's have a real Uno talk. How are you going to beat somebody when they have 3+4s?
Especially if there's only two of you playing, it's not
Right.
like other people are getting the brunt of those. You're picking up 6,000 cards.
That's right. It's one-on-one. You just get demolished like straight away. And so, I am modeling good sportsmanship, but internally, um, she won 5 games in a row. Then I won a game, and I kid you not, it felt so good to win a game of Uno.
It's a
I was like,
relief to know that you're not a loser.
I know. To that point, I felt like an absolute loser.
I
No,
mean,
it really was. It was intoxicating. Let me tell you, I was.
time
Mm.
in my life where like someone has proposed that we play cards, and I have had to say out loud like, hey, I'm in a place right now where I'm not going to have a good attitude if and when I lose cards to you. So I think it's for the best that we don't play cards. I'm gonna be a dick, and I can't stop it. So
The ability to know yourself like that is so good because that's the issue of those moments is when you don't realize you're mad and it's a game. It's a card game with someone who's 8 years old.
like,
Yeah.
listen,
If you can keep it inside. Sorry,
we
Laura.
can watch a movie and it'll be just like the vibe will be weird, or we can play cards and I guarantee I'm gonna yell and embarrass myself.
I
And
might be
like
a little mad about the movie too.
yeah, I have to pick it. I mean, to be clear.
The Uno with my daughter, it's wonderful because like Lily is like super loud and she like we love playing. It's a great like bonding moment. Um so I guess like the core of it is that to lose at anything affects me.
Mm,
And that like so to distill it down is like even if it is, and Casey, you helped like clarify this of like it is just the act of like losing a game, even if it is, a game of mixture of skill and chance. When we would play like a game of pure luck or chance, like Shoots and Ladders or Candyland, even if you lose, I would lose at those. I still would feel the deflation of
Yeah.
losing. Um, and am not, I don't know. I say that like without shame, but it's
right.
just honest. Like it is
Yeah.
just really honest.
How do you guys
Um,
feel about luck within the
mm.
context of that? I find it interesting that people who kind of like identify as lucky, um,
I'll tell you,
uh
in this instance of Lily getting lucky cards, I resent the hell out of it. Oh my God, I resent it. I'm like, oh, nice. You got another +4. Look at that.
Great.
So nice for you, Lily. Oh, my little sweetheart. Yeah, and it just burns inside.
Uh,
Burns.
I don't think I don't think I can like healthfully process luck for myself or I guess I'm just learning. There's still a lot of work to be done here. But like like if something good happens to someone else, I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." But similar to Kevin, and then I just like assume something unlucky will happen to me. Like I'm like, "Oh, I got in the left-hand lane. Well, I guarantee the right-hand lane is going to go faster now." And it's like these are skill. You just picked a lane or you picked up a card and I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh well." Like I just
The connection of like luck being almost like synonymous with good fortune,
yeah.
I feel
yes.
like they're like the less stressed I am, the more kind of like at ease I am just in like my general movements through the world, like the more good fortune I recognize, I
Yeah.
think like um, and I just feel like more open to it as opposed to when I'm like running behind or anxious or like moving super fast. It feels like there is no good fortune that comes my way.
Mhm.
And then if I'm just like in a much more calm state, I think I just see it of just like, oh, what a nice little thing that just happened or occurred or that's
I'm
shown on my bright, huge forehead or so, like it just what a nice thing.
well, it's interesting that you're saying it like that because it's like luck, good fortune, and like gratitude all kind of are like this weird progression from like, well, I know I'm literally trash garbage, but I'm lucky to like someone who's fully in a place of acceptance and like uh and can be like, wow, I'm grateful for all of these things that are happening. And it's not there's no luck about it. It's just like it's just happening. It's so interesting.
I keep
Yeah.
trying to remember to learn how to manifest, and it's
Yeah.
not happening yet. Kevin, I have a question for you. When you and Lily are playing, what are your wife and son doing? Are they like, "Oh Lord, it's the Uno nightmares. We'll be in the other room."
So while Lily and I are battling in Uno, um, William, who will be bar mitzvahed in 2 years,
Oh my
is
god.
learning Hebrew, and
Wow.
it has come around, and like, and Janelle, my wife, is teaching him Hebrew and helping him learn the alphabet and letters and reading and whatnot. Um, and so it in it previously was like while we were doing battle with Uno, they were battling with Hebrew. But now it's like really nice. He's picking it up and like can read and is somewhat enjoying it.
What it sounds
Um,
like is you're teaching your daughter to be a gambler and your son to be a good Jewish boy.
yeah. That's right. We got the Irish Blarney and the I don't know Jewish mitzvah going on at the
A little
same time.
bit. That's nice.
Yeah. Oh, Lily and I are drinking heavily too while we're playing Uno
Okay.
as well. So
Cheers, Lily.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, no, they're doing mainly that bar mitzvah work and spending that special mother son time, excuse me.
That's
Um,
You're
really
getting
yeah,
that mother-daughter time with Lily.
yeah,
and Lily is teaching you swears at Uno.
yeah, yeah. I love her ability to just like know how to needle me perfectly and just get, make my frustration that much greater. She already
Yeah,
knows how to how to do it. So, yeah.
she's just
Funny.
perfecting the craft.
Yeah. And like William is not super competitive. Like like William and my wife, neither, I don't know, like competition, winning. They're just like, I want to have fun and do my best. And Lily and I are like, the stakes of this are really high. And a lot rides on this shoots and ladders game. Like I don't know what to tell you, but it's got some stakes to it.
Speaking of stakes, why don't we raise the stakes a little bit here and we talk about some bigger worries? Now, we're not talking about our biggest worries. There's a lot of really big worries being a human person in this world right now, but we're going to talk about some bigger worries that are more personal to us. And I'm going to share one. Okay. So, my bigger worry is that I'm worried that I am an enemy to introverted people.
You are an enemy to the introverts.
I
Yes.
need it
How
covered.
does that manifest? Are you
So,
I mean, is this physical attacking of introverts or
oh no, yeah, it's definitely not like a literal assault. It so I consider myself extroverted. I think others would consider me extroverted. When Laura was just telling her story about, you know, reading and being really into it, I was thinking about when I was younger and how my siblings would go into their rooms in the evening or on the afternoons on a weekend and read. And I would sit downstairs and talk at my parents instead of go in my room and be quiet and alone. The only time I started doing that was when AOL Instant Messenger existed so I could talk onto the computer. Um, and there's nothing wrong with being extroverted, but I think later in life, I became more aware, like in college, and then obviously, definitely now, that introverted people can seem upset with you if you are being in their face, but they're not. Either, well, one, they're probably not, but two, they might be. so that's my so that's my big worry is, are you introverted and not upset? Or are you introverted and are you or yeah, I guess we can swear. Or and are you pissed?
yeah. I have this issue, Casey, a lot with people on the team, with guys on the team. For listeners or viewers, in my career, I'm a coach, and have been a couple of times where an athlete will not respond to me in a way that I'm accustomed to or that I anticipate. And
Mhm.
I take it personally, or I really question like what's happening with our relationship or with this athlete right now, this individual. And it has been, as my wife, a psychologist, has pointed out,
Oh,
Kevin,
lucky you.
they're just introverted. And I'm like, "Oh, right. Oh, yeah, okay. They're not I got it. I
Oh
got
my
it." So I
god.
didn't get like the response that I, was anticipating or that like with the same cue or in the same situation, the response that I've received from other athletes. And you just realize like, "Oh yeah, this is a different personality type and I'm not
Yeah.
sensitive enough to that."
Yes. The not being sensitive enough to it is something that really worries me because I think there's sometimes I just come flying into fill in the blank situation and I think I worry and I know that I've done harm, I think to people feeling comfortable. Um and it's one of those things where I don't think there's a lot of common knowledge about extroverted privilege of when you're loud, people pay attention to you and you get more opportunities or whatever. Like, I'm not saying like, wow, look at me. I just mean like quite literally, I've just seen it happen, you know, And
Mhm.
I was just gonna say, wow, lucky you, Kevin. I didn't realize that Janelle was a psychologist. That is, I
Yeah.
think I knew, but that's fabulous. What a great resource and generous brain and heart to have as a partner.
This is, yeah, I mean, getting, what the point of like the bigger worry, a little bit more real talk. She came to an event that we had at the boathouse, and I think William was born, and so she came with at least one of the kids, and it was a barbecue and after a regatta, and she afterwards said, "Oh, I didn't know you had a autistic someone on the autism spectrum on your team." I was like, who are you talking about?" And she goes, "Oh, that individual who was displaying every characteristic of someone who is on the autism spectrum, and that she observed like just in her professional capacity, just attending this team event." And that was news to me. That was like an insight that I had never gleaned. I had
Mhm.
known it was a challenge to communicate with this athlete. I was like always trying to teach the skills that are needed for the sport, but
Mhm.
felt frustrated that I couldn't communicate effectively. And yeah, Janelle was like, "You didn't observe or see the signs that any psychologist or mental health worker or someone trained to observe and know physical signs of autism spectrum." So it was incredible in that instance because it
Wow.
changed my relationship with that athlete. I was like, amazing. He had never confided any of that information to me.
Right.
Subsequently, his parents did,
Mm.
but it, yeah, changed completely. So to your kind of to your worry of like, how do different personality types interact? It's really important to have a resource to tell you if you're not acting inappropriately, but could act in a more productive way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Casey, as someone who is lucky to know you closely and well and has for a long time, I think first of all, I think it's a testament to the fact that this is a worry for you that that I don't think you are an enemy
That's
to
good.
introverted people. But I think that something that prevents you from being one is your self awareness and that you do look out for other people regularly. You're often fighting harder for other people than you are for yourself. So I think the fact that you're aware of this and that this is a concern for you, or that you can't like if you're Casey Power projects you into a room at a million miles an hour and yells, "Everybody look at your email," or whatever the thing is, then you're gonna think about it afterwards and be like, "Was that right or wrong?" And you will beat yourself up over it. That's another
That's
superpower you have.
that's
But
a guarantee.
do feel like you went too hard or could have taken a different approach, like you're a person who's going to implement that the next time.
Or ever acted out of malice. It's
Right.
you are the kindest, sort of person ever. So any of that, I don't know, your own self-perception of like causing harm is never derived from a malicious intent ever.
I think it's so tough, and maybe this is something that you're gonna speak to, Laura, is like I think I just have a hard time when and in the during this pause, like during this intense time of like being alone and like I've been very fortunate to be with Nate, my partner. I've been alone, but not around a million people all the time, is learning to kind of like choose to keep things more private and like and it's been almost like it's almost been like a sport of like working out the muscle of like you don't need to tell people good things or bad things or everything at the same time. So it's been a very interesting time, but at the same time, I think there's a lot I'm noticing a lot of the power that comes with people who don't let you know how they're feeling. And I'm like, y'all got it down because I don't know what's going on in there. And it freaks me out, but I respect it.
Casey, you've like primed this idea in my mind that I think both of you will have a story related to it, of like this power that we've all done corporate improv training, team building with groups outside of the theater, in a huge myriad of environments and settings, and like not dealing with, but like engaging with participants who are there because they were forced to be there by their team leader. And the thought of doing improv, this like remarkable extroverted activity, is a nightmare to them. And as a facilitator in a like team building or improv teaching setting, like that is such a tricky kind of needle to thread, I think, to really put people at ease, when it might be impossible to do so.
Yeah, building that insta trust is like really hard.
It's like, I think we are people who want to relate to the people that we're working with. So if you see somebody who like would rather be in the depths of hell than in a 30-minute workshop, uh you know, like trying to relate to them, to be like, I know that you feel horrendous right now, without like undermining the thing we're there to do. Like, you're not going to be like, yeah, I know improv is hokey corny stuff, because it's like I wouldn't have spent 10 years of my life doing this if that's what I thought. But like, how do I engage you in a way that like, we both a little bit do the thing, and
And to
maybe you're not
Kate,
having
yeah,
the time of your life, but like, could you try?
and,
Yeah.
present it, and to Casey's worry, without being like assaultive, and like
Yeah.
without putting that person ill.
Same time as me.
It's so funny, like, and I think a big part of my worry too is that like there's this fragility of like, every interaction and every like first impression or like, and I think that, personality comes and maybe I'm just like, this is what we're talking about. Why am I apologizing? I'm overthinking it because I'm worried about it. Um, the I just think that there's like situations where you can like kind of just straight up just damage how someone feels around you kind of forever. Be- I guess I just worry about that. And then like any sort of like reconciliation or like work to mend it just feels so like it's like the work like overdoing it to try to fix something is like the ultimate like I think like
Yes.
extroverted bullshit thing to do. So I'm like, oh mother effers.
Yeah. You want to be
It's
like,
such a spiral. Yeah.
Yeah.
tell me it's okay. But
Mhm.
but then,
It's not okay.
but it's not, or your brain like doesn't, you're so focused on what you want the end goal to be,
Yes.
that there's no like thinking of what, either how to get there in a way that you feel good about, or what the reality is, and if that's even an opportunity, right? You're just like, I feel bad right now, and I can't stop thinking about how I don't want to feel bad anymore, not how do I deal with this.
Mhm. That's why therapy's good because that you don't have to do your freaking undoing work on the people that you need to let them alone.
I had a bad day recently where it was just like, in the grand scheme of things, like very minor, but I was like, I mad, and I wanted to be mad at anybody,
Mhm.
but the only person there, like, there wasn't even really me to be mad at. Like, it was just like, sometimes shit doesn't happen the way we want it to, but I could not focus on anything besides like, I mad, me bad, like, and there's nothing to do. My partner very very politely was like, you have to just like sit in these feelings until you're done having them. And I was like, don't want to. And that was just like, that was the solution. And within like a day, we were feeling much better, but it was just like, no, I just have to sit here and think about how I wish I didn't feel like this. Cool.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think that's what it ends up being, but I'm grateful to have talked about this because it is kind of this weird esoteric thing that, well, not esoteric, but it's something that I feel comfortable talking to you guys about it because I know you're more extroverted people. So I don't feel like in this conversation I'm making any judgments or, you know, about. I'm not looking for an introvert to be like, "You die, you did it," you know.
Casey,
Classic
so often
ones.
I just want people to be happy and I just want people to like me. And when that doesn't happen, I'm just like, I then go into like what Laura was talking about of just like this spiral of like
I better get on the same
self-judgment.
ship that they're on and hate my guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, where, and I am like, what is my failure that like into your initial worry of like, did I offend this introvert or did I offend this, whatever they are,
Yeah.
uh, and I assume that it's me. I'm just like, they're not happy. And it's the reason that I get on stage and like, if the audience is laughing, that I fixate on the one person who isn't, and that you're just like, why
Oh, I don't
isn't
have
that?
enough energy for that.
Yeah, but I'm just like, but did you see that one guy who didn't look like he liked our show? And like, that's the person that I'm like concerned with of like why it was probably me that they didn't like. And yeah, it's
It's so funny.
Meanwhile, that guy's like, I've got rocks in my mouth and it hurts to laugh. It wasn't your fault, but like you'll never hear that.
dental work earlier in the day. I'm unable to move my lips in a comfortable manner. Well, that explains it.
Did a
I'm
Um,
here
nice
trying to
job.
get help. I super glued my mouth together.
I'm all high on pain pills, so I actually think the show is very funny. I just can't move my mouth to express it outwardly for that gentleman on stage to see.
And that is a drug-induced introvert.
Meanwhile, Kevin's quit comedy 3 times.
That's right.
He keeps walking out the door and coming back and being like, "All right, sign me back up. All right, I quit. Sign me back up." Oh my god. Thanks, guys.
Good
I think
journey, Casey.
oh, thanks. I think we have time for one more and then we'll go, but I want to talk more.
Laura, we had you on. Do you have a big worry for us to talk about?
Yeah, do I ever? My big worry today is like I feel like chasing my dreams uh is like frivolous, and in doing so I'm like missing opportunities for the things air quotes supposed to be doing instead,
Mm,
if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense, Laura.
yeah. When
Like
you
I
say
feel like I'm regressing a bit in that like I purchased, I purchased a condo and I lived in it and I had like boring insurance jobs for a long time and I did the things that I was understood to believe that you're supposed to be doing, and then I was like, I want to make people laugh. I'll move. And now I'm
For
in my late 30s with a roommate and like crushing it.
for whatever it's worth, when you said a few years ago, I'm going to move to LA, I was like, God damn it. I am so jealous of that. God damn it. I wish I could move to LA. I'm quite, just for, again, listeners and viewers info, I'm quite a few years older than,
You
than
can't hear
Laura.
it in
And
his trembling voice.
that's right. I'm much closer to death than Laura, so I can speak from a position of wisdom.
Yes.
Uh, no, also I can speak from a wisdom, from a position of having leaden feet that cannot move to LA. And yeah, that jealousy was like out of it. It really was envy at your opportunity to go do that for whatever the hell that's worth. I was just like, that is awesome, and I wish it was me. So the pursuit of your dream of the thing that you want to do to somebody outside of that who who is outside of your position, like looking at that, I thought that was an incredibly brave and bold and really just like audacious and really exciting thing to do. Um,
Hmm.
I also think it speaks to like your bold independence and like I feel like there's a lot of and I think that it strikes and I think it strikes out against like kind of the what were quotation marks as you described supposed to do because I think if things that were hard or the thing that we're like supposed to do is kind of what everybody does and so maybe it's like a little bit easy and it's kind of like you know what I mean um it doesn't take a lot of like emotional fortitude to like uproot yourself and like distance yourself from your communities but this is the problem with the coastal like industries problem, right? Like not they're not being kind of like and I'll name Chicago as like a potential place where people can go to as well, but like only now is there like more places where people can go do the things that they want to go do.
Right.
um and it sucks. Like I hope that that like you did the thing and like I don't know. I think anyone who has never even thought about pursuing or never even spoken out loud the thing that they really want to do, like that's the real like frivolousness of like someone who like is just living like the true nothingness of all the nothing details of their life instead of like even being willing to speak the thing.
Yeah, um I think you're right on about that, and I have like a very harsh judgment that like I have a deep fear of like I don't want to be a boring person. Like that to me is just as scary as dying, as heights, is like gonna be boring. That feels worse to me. And I have a vivid memory of like an office I used to work in where there was like one day all of these women like gathered in someone's cubicle and were like screaming about going to see Magic Mike. And I was like,
Ooh, time and place.
never, never let this be me. Like, I can't be a person. I'll never forgive myself on the Goodreads challenge if I am a person who's like, ooh, paint night. Like, I can't. And that's no disrespect to paint night. It serves a purpose, but it can't
Mhm.
be my purpose.
Laura, I
So,
think you suffer and artists, like not artists like us, but like people in the arts suffer because their dreams require risk and their dreams require like public visible risk. And I have this assumption that like everybody has a dream. Everybody has a
right.
passion. I hope, right? But for some people that passion is building model airplanes. And that does not require any public risk, right? But then if you're like, well, I want to be a writer in Hollywood or a stand-up or I want to pursue this goal, it's public and it's freaking risky, and it takes like boldness and then like artists get dinged for that. You get like and it's both like the judgment of those who are critical of you and your own self. Where like if I'm passionate about reading books, wonderful, like great, you're like such a passionate book reader. That doesn't take any public risk.
Yeah,
And so I
straight
don't
up.
know. That's always where I was like, well, shit, what would it take for me to move to LA or go to New York or whatever? That was never my path, but I was like, it would take an extraordinary leap of faith in myself and risk. And like, shit, that lets you know you're alive, right? And
Right.
It's so bananas. I just read Jenna Fisher's book on acting and like tips and stuff, and it's like very good. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I was like, my hater brain was like, okay, so my main takeaways were I should have started a decade ago, and there shouldn't have been a pandemic. Okay, okay, got it. Yeah. But like last Friday night, like life has just changed so dramatically. And if anyone listening doesn't doesn't know me, I moved here in November of 2019. So I got, November I was shy, December I was shy, January I got into a class, February I got into a class, and then March it all shut down. And
Right.
so, I never got to like jump into a theater, or like find my new comedy people. Plus, I was afraid because I missed my old comedy people. Like, I didn't do the thing. And so, but prior to that, my life was so rich with getting to entertain people in person many nights a week. And so like this past Friday, my roommate and I like had our schedule of like, okay, we're gonna watch an episode of Amber Ruffin, we're gonna watch Jeopardy, and then we'll watch one more Amber Ruffin before Drag Race comes on, and then I'll probably go to bed a little bit after Drag Race is over. And like this is Friday night, when Friday night used to be like leave work, wolf down fast food in your car, get to the theater because you're in the 7 o'clock show, but then like skip out during one of the other sets, go grab something else to eat because you're back in the 9, and then you got to go hang out afterwards until whatever. And like, and that life is like, a, like it feels like no one would believe you if you told them that's what you were doing. And to go from that to like, I love to be in my soft pants by 7, like.
I wonder, Laura, do you feel like the like do you yourself, like, I know you yourself don't hold these things to be the things that are true about what is important, because you yourself just said you'd rather die than be boring. Um but do you feel like the fear is more about the kind of deferred, the thing you were describing of like, I deferred it and I'm here, and if it doesn't work out, am I regretting taking a deferred risk? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. It's like, and what I'm, gathering about this is like there's no certainty. And if
Yeah.
something goes great one day, then something else could go wrong the next. And like this choice is a roller coaster. And you can ride it for as long as you're comfortable. And then if you have to get off, there's no shame in that, which I think is
Right.
worth repeating. Like, there's no shame if you can't or don't want to anymore. But not being 25 years old, and being like, I know that this is an industry that is not kind to people who are not children.
Right.
Um, it is scary to be like, what if I just put this like chunk of like, I don't know, young middle age? I don't know what you call this. And then in 10 years, it's like now my resume looks like I don't have skills, and now I have to go like see if I can work in an office. Like that's really scary.
to the pursuit of the dream. I wonder if this is even possible in LA. But this show, this experiment, as an example, um, I think it's like such a privilege to just do work that you really are excited about with people
Mhm.
that you're excited to do it with. So this show, I am incredibly excited to just do something and try something with Casey. And it's like, I have that privilege, which I recognize of like, this is an absolutely like I have nothing but things to gain from this, of like talking to my friends and people I find really funny and smart about things that are funny and challenging. And I wonder, and I feel like that's kind of a common theme in a lot of the entertainment like industry, whether it's a podcast or a book or an article, like a lot of the common like material that comes out of that entertainment machinery is like people just pursued stuff they loved and felt passionate about.
Right.
Um,
Because otherwise,
like,
what's the point of the risk?
right.
Right.
Yeah. Like Kevin McDermott will never be an Instagram influencer ever at all. That is not a pursuit that interests me in the slightest. But
And
I
he
would,
Right.
can't make a story with music. Just
no,
kidding. That was a joke about me.
no. But I do love seeing your face, Laura, and talking to you on a podcast show format with Casey. And it's like that. I'm just like, I will keep pursuing those routes, and
Mhm.
no matter what, no matter what.
I know
I told
Laura, please,
Casey, oh,
sorry.
I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, no, no,
I
no, no.
told Casey, probably a week ago, like shortly after being asked to be on this, which truly fills my heart with more joy than I can express. I was like, there are people who, like, I trust so deeply that like, I don't have to know the project. Like, right? If it's like, do you want to sniff your butt with Casey and Kevin? And I'd be like, yes, I'll start
Our
stretching.
next
Like,
segment.
I
Thank
felt
you, Laura, for that segue.
She jumped
like,
the gun a little bit, but stick around, folks, for Sniff Your Butt with Casey and Kevin. That's our closer.
I, I just don't care what it is. I'm like, oh, I get to play with these people who I love with my whole heart. Yeah, okay, great. So that, like, joy, especially now that we're in this weird virtual world where this is how we do art. And I don't know how to do TikTok, and I'm very sensitive about it. I, like, this makes me feel like, oh, right, this is why I love to do this thing, is to admire and who make me want to, like, be the best creative version of myself.
Yeah, there's
So thanks.
really, you're so welcome. I'm sorry that it was like, yeah, anyway.
We gotta get to sniff our butt.
I, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I
Laura, can
gotta.
you just speed
I
it along here? We got some
I
butts to sniff. All right, let's go.
I gotta finish the book that is my butt. Okay. um, so what I was just gonna say is like, you know, it's so interesting. I've been thinking a lot in this pandemic about like self judgment of others, and just like how counterproductive it is. Um, and it, we are like I grew up, you know, in a, you know, a, in a Catholic church, and I think in school and sports, there's a lot of judgment. There's in music, it's like, oh, was it good or was it bad? Was it funny? Was it not? Was it a goal or was it just a crappy kick? Were you good or were you bad? And you know, so much of this judgment is like wrapped up into your question. And like, what sucks is that, like Kevin was saying, like the risk means that you're always in the question all the time. Was this the right choice? Is what I'm doing dumb? And the answer is yes and no.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
right.
and it's like, oh my god, the holding the two things true is like so hard. And yeah, like I just respect the fact that you did it because it's not easy, and also like is a valid worry because it's like you'd be a psychotic person if you weren't worried. You'd be like one of those people who are like, everything is so good. Like everything is so perfect. Like it's gonna be great. And I'm not saying like I've used to feel like people who were self-judgmental were dumb or were like people who were unexamined, but I'm realizing that's not true. It's people who aren't self-aware, and there's a difference. Awareness and judgment are two different things, and I did not know that
Mm,
until, like, this year,
that's really interesting.
which is so well, that's just I guess I'm just, like, blathering that out of my mouth, but, that's what I feel.
By the way,
You're blathering truth, Casey.
yeah.
It's just falling right out of your
Yeah,
mouth.
listeners, there's
Truth
just foamy truth.
is secret.
She might not be well, listeners. We're not sure. It's frothing now, and get an EpiPen over there.
Someone get me a bucket. Um,
I love
I
that how you phrased it though, that you're always in the question.
yeah.
That's visually a very striking uh, image for me. So thank you.
there's a, I guess, I don't know, not a capstone question, but it's like, what is required to be content, in your
Yeah.
pursuit of your dream? And I don't mean to kind of like provide that, like, all right, this is going to be like the final note on this, but I do think it's like, are you self-confident enough? Do you have enough kind of like, as Casey said, like the self-awareness to say, like, I am really content with the work that I'm doing and the people I'm doing it with and the opportunities that I have. And if I'm not content with that, like, what am I doing to try to rectify that situation? Not to, shine any light on my own butthole, but I was like, I want to do a freaking show. Like, I am jonesing for something. I want to do it with someone I like and, who I think is funny and really smart. And I love her sensibility. Like, Casey, do you want to develop a show with me? And it's like, because right now I'm not content with what I'm doing. Um, and I don't, yeah, I'm just like, I've been alive for the last 2 weeks while we've been,
It's been
you know,
exciting. Yeah, it's a weird feeling that the creative juices flow again. And I feel bad, Laura, that you are having to you're doing the work without the spoils, without even the opportunity of the spoils. Look at you. You're like a
I
little Lisa Frank.
I, lo-
and
Fine.
right,
whenever people have the opportunity, they need to see Laura do stand up, because I'm not saying that this is like makes Laura content. I'm not trying to speak for her, but like watching her do stand up is amazing. She's great at it. And like having that ripped away from you, like that you just can't do sets, like can't be in front of an audience and do a spot. Amazing improviser. Like, again, as I said at the top, both Casey and I have done hundreds of shows with Laura, and to have that ripped away, you're like, what is my artistic identity? Like, what is
Yeah,
my
so
artistic
Laura, the
purpose?
pandemic and like we lost you and then we lost the pandemic and then we and then we lost it all.
yeah, yeah, man. It is so like I was such a baby when I first got here. I was like, improv is not on my radar because the quality of it that I got to do at home and the people I got to do it with, like I don't get to just jump into that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do it if it doesn't make me feel like I felt at home. So it was not on my radar. And then and then of course like stand up means I have to write a joke, and improv has taught me you don't actually have to show up prepared to anything. So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But
That is the cornerstone of our corporate training. You don't need to show up prepared for anything.
$600, please. But I would like the night I finally admitted that I missed improv. Like by March, I was like, I think you can say those words. And so I had March 12th, I had an audition for a house team at Second City. And obviously on March 12th, everything was getting shut down, like one after the other. Like my phone alerts were just blowing up with like everything shutting down. And then and then they were like, hey, we're not gonna, like, I got sent home from work until forevermore that day, like March 12th, it shut down.
Yep.
And so Second City called and was like, yeah, there's obviously no audition. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And so to like circle back situation, I was like, I got in the pandemic line. But then I just like went through my like ups and downs of how creative do I feel during this time, which none of this is like original. Everyone has felt, how do I exist in this pandemic?
Some people have been
But
more creative though, I will say.
some people that have really stepped it up, and I am envious, and have also been on a journey to be like, it's fine if you're not like them.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
exist.
I'm the
But
same
like
way.
this I made a spreadsheet. I called it a comedy spreadsheet, but I'm expanding it to like an entertainment accountability spreadsheet. And I'm putting every podcast, everything I submit writing to, every audition I have. And I don't care if it's for like to play like Piece of Grass #8 in a student film. Like I came here to do these things. So like I like to look at it and I have it like the date that I did the thing, what it is, what subcategory of creativity it falls into, so that I can say, hey, you feel like you're not doing anything because you're looking at people who you think are doing more than you. But look at the things you have done. And that if I get into a period of like, I'm really not doing anything, I can say, bitch, your spreadsheet is lacking. Why don't you go do something? And so far, it's February 4th. So far, it's hefty. And I feel good about it, and I just hope that that can keep up, because to Kevin's point of like what makes you feel content, it's like, my answer has always been like, I want to make everyone laugh, and now I have to, you know figure out what that means. If I
And
can.
that dream, like luckily you have found a dream that aligns with your talents. Like that is, and so then is the timing right? Is the opportunity right? Do you have, everything fall into place? That's all out of, I think, our control, but it's like you have found a dream and a passion and a pursuit that so closely aligns with like your talents, and that's admirable, I think.
And I want to
uh,
tell you that I just got a casting notice on my phone that said Piece of Grass number 8 is holding auditions
I read for
virtually.
that yesterday. I just want you to know it went really well. Uh,
Yeah.
so good luck, I guess, Laura. But
Yeah, no, same to you.
when I left the room, it was pretty clear that I was going to get it. Just, I don't know. I felt pretty good about it.
Okay, well,
My
I'll be there
agent
with.
did not get me the gig. Yeah. You'll be here with flowers. Oh my
Well,
God,
Laura,
y'all.
we cannot thank you enough. We want, yeah, to thank you. We can't thank you enough, but we will try. You
Thank
are
you.
amazing and a great stand-up improviser, friend, mind, and we're so pleased to have you on our first episode of Little Worry, Big Worry.
Mm, mm, mm,
Thanks for
mm,
having me. Sorry, my ego is so weird. Let's use it.
mm. You don't have to
L-
apologize.
Laura,
Yeah, I
let the
do.
people know on Twitter and elsewhere where they can find you.
Certainly. Well, I'm gonna do a bit of a double plug. You can find me personally, Laura Manasewich, on Twitter at sassymz at Manassy, and on Instagram at just sassy Manasseh. And then please like and follow my podcast. It's called Pinky Promise Podcast, a podcast about growing up. I co-host it with Katie Arroyo, another comic, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Pinky Promise Pod on both.
Mm, that's some delicious handles. Good work.
Follow and listen. Laura, thank you for the double plug.
That's my
Gross. Sorry.
So
We got some
sniff your
recommendations
butt.
because we want to leave the show on a positive note. So Laura, stick around for 1 second because I know the great Casey Grambo has a recommendation for me, and I have a recommendation for her. So
yes.
Casey, do you want to lead us off?
Yes. Okay. So I embarrassingly spent many, 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 many weeks listening to Taylor Swift's Folklore, and
That's
then
good.
therefore then listened to Evermore after it came out. Okay. But I then acknowledged I had listened to it too many times. It was too many times. Okay. I'm acknowledging it was too many times.
For
So
both of them, you just binged both nonstop over and over again.
yeah, it was kind of just like a chamomile tea for your ears. I was just like, I just needed to calm down. The summer was really rough. We all had a hard time. But I was reminded on Evermore of the, and I always had continued listening to them, but I was just like, Casey, go listen to Haim. So there's,
Oh,
and you might already know Haim, and they just put out an album called Women in Music Part 3. And I would listen to it a couple times. I think it's a really good album. There's some really cool, like different kind of genres of songs on it. There's one song in particular that the title is escaping me, but it's very a la Joni Mitchell. And listening to an album that has only one Joni Mitchell song makes the Joni Mitchell song really stand out. I'll say that. And then there's a song called Man in the Magazine that I really like. So Kevin, I'm gonna ask you to listen to Man in the Magazine and then report back,
I
if
will
not the whole
listen.
album.
I do know Haim. I don't know their new album, but yes, very much like their previous albums a lot. So thank you for that recommendation. I also have a musical recommendation. It is the album Side Pony by Lake Street Dive. I believe it's their third studio album. They have one newer album that's also awesome. I recommend Side Pony because my 8-year-old daughter makes me put it on every day. and we listened to the title track called Side Pony, which I did not know what a side pony was until my daughter explained what a side pony, how you not braid, just put someone's hair into a side pony. So for those who can't see, Casey and Laura are looking at me like I'm the biggest idiot in the world for not knowing what a side pony was. So, but
What
Lake
are the
Street Dive,
other songs of their album like
Kevin has
Ness?
no hair, so
Yeah,
it
that's-
makes sense. Like,
it's the only hair related song on the album, but they are an awesome band. They've been around for maybe like 10 years or so out of Boston, and great kind of soul but rock outfit. And their lead singer has amazing voice that I really love, and she talks about rocking a side pony, which my daughter and I sing along to before she goes off to school.
That is so cute.
aw.
I'll listen to it. A soul rock band singing about hair. I love it.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you again, Laura, for joining us on our first episode here. Casey, it was great to see you and to do our first episode. We'll be back with more.
This was so fun. I'm so happy. Bye, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.